Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. In today's video, we're going to get into my final acquisition from the USN show that occurred over Labor Day weekend of 2016 in Vegas. This was an unplanned purchase for me at the show. I just came across it. Of course, I'm familiar with the maker, which is Jarosz, and this is the K-2A Framelock. So we will go through the specs, the overall impressions, and the details, just as always. And then I will tell you kind of the backstory on this knife and Jesse, as far as I know him. So, for a size comparison, Kershaw CQC 7K, and the Jarosz here is just a little bit bigger than the Kershaw. So, in terms of specs, 3.5 inch blade, 4.8 inch handle. It does have a handle thickness of 0.5 inches, so just half an inch thick there. And it is a Framelock 6AL4V standard titanium, titanium pocket clip, G10 backspacer, and this one has a carbon fiber front scale. Didn't come that way, but I could not leave well enough alone, so I did have that upgraded. Now, one thing that's really interesting, it does run on washers. They either come with nylon or Teflon, so yeah. And the thing that makes this knife really interesting is that this knife is partly handmade and part CNC made. So instead of Jesse coming out and calling it a mid-tech and leaving a lot of ambiguity as far as how much work actually went into it and how much was done by machines, he just simply said, this is a knife, it's my knife, and it's 30% machine made and 70% handmade. He hasn't called it a mid-tech at all, which is very honest, very transparent. And really cool, actually. So you know exactly how much time went into this knife. Now they are priced at $395, so just about $400 for the knife. So yeah, let's move this out of the way. Give you an up close look here at it. So, and it's a little bit dirty because I actually use this one quite a bit. So yeah. Now, as far as my overall impressions go, a couple of things about this knife. First is this is the smoothest knife on washers that I've ever handled. The only one that I think that either came close or was potentially on par was like my Gale Bradley 1 that I had for a very long time. That thing was crazy smooth. This one is in fact smoother than a Neil Blackwood Custom, who also uses washers. So yeah, just incredibly smooth. Couple things that do aid in that. One is exceptional fit and finish. Two, he put a, oh man, I don't know if the line's going to show it. He put a detent track on the tang of the blade so the detent ball can get up on the tang and off a little bit easier. And yeah, I mean, just crazy smooth for washers. Really, really impressive. So, also, while he does not call this a mid-tech, and again, I applaud him for that, if we look at this knife that is, again, 30% machine-made, 70% handmade, versus all of the other knives out there that fit into the mid-tech category, this one is a step above almost all of them. There are one or two other ones that are potentially on par with this one, maybe even one that's slightly better, but this is, it's just really, really good. You know, I don't know how to explain it better than that. It's fantastic. It's one of the best, I don't want to call it mid-techs that are out there right now. And the price is quite reasonable at $400, in my opinion. I mean, it's obviously up to you guys, but I very, very much like the knife. Might use the word infatuated, but let's take a look at the details, tell you a little bit more about it. So, really nice hand ground blade, of course, from Jesse. Drop point style, attractive swedge up top, some nice satins, and then I do like the stonewashed flats for a contrast against the really nice satin grind. So everything, it's symmetric, everything looks perfect. It's sharp as hell. Jesse makes very, very sharp knives. And AEBL, again, I'm quite familiar with it since I have been a Gavco fan for a long time, and he also uses AEBL on his custom. So good steel. Maybe the slightest a bit of recurve here in the blade. Tiniest bit, barely noticeable. Anyways, it does use the thumb hole here for deployment, so you can roll it open quite easy. You can flick it open quite easy, and you can use your middle finger, kick it open quite easy. So again, just really smooth. Nice access to the thumb hole. Has some jimping up top, which is very well executed. Very positive, gives a tremendous amount of grip, and again, it's not sharp. So, Jesse definitely knows what he's doing. He is very user orientated, which is why he uses AEBL, because the steel can take a beating without chipping while maintaining a really good edge. He uses washers in lieu of bearings because, again, he's very user orientated. And I asked him why the washers, and one, keeps debris out. Two, less moving parts, easier to maintain. You don't have to worry about, the washer rolling out while you're cleaning it and running away on you. It also keeps moisture out of the pivot and traps lubricant, the washers hold or trap lubricant there as well. So keeps it lubricated, keeps moisture out. Pretty cool stuff. Alright, so that's the blade. No sharp edges here on the thumb hole. Again, just really well done. And yeah, tiny little sharpening notch right there. So yep. Alright, kind of a flat Torx pivot, satin finished. Looks nice. And this one does have a carbon fiber scale. Now, initially, I bought it with a G10 scale, but again, I couldn't really leave well enough alone, and so I asked him if I could essentially have him make me a carbon fiber scale for it. Now, as far as what is hand done and what is machine done, so essentially the lock side here and probably the clip, I forgot to ask, are machine done. So wire EDM cutout. That nice clean lock bar cutout right there is, of course, wire EDM. I think the holes are then, machined in, and he does everything else. So he, custom makes or makes by hand the scales, which are fit to each specific knife, backspacer, obviously setting the lock bar, and grinding the blades, assembly. So that's how he comes to those ratios of 30-70. Really nice carbon fiber on this one. I haven't found any voids, and it matches the holes on the lock side perfectly. So you'll see the pocket clip poking through there a little bit, but perfectly matched. So chamfered around the edges, no hot spots. Lock bar is quite easy to disengage with that nice, millwork or chamfer cut into it. So pretty easy. And stone washed everything else, so again, you don't have to really worry about scratching it up. Now this pocket clip does have a little bit of blue anodizing kind of in his maker's mark there, which looks really cool. G10 backspacer, and this one has a lanyard post, so mating is pretty good throughout. Pretty good. Not like perfect, but I mean good enough. On his full, on a full custom, no doubt that is perfectly mated, but this one is just about perfect. So yeah, and again, coming in at probably half the price of a full custom from him, I'm happy with the execution. So all right, as far as the lock bar goes, Jesse went overkill with these things, and I'm a big fan of overkill. And the lock bar here was actually heat hardened, which is called carburizing. And then, they took a carbonizer and placed carbon here on the lock face as well. So Chris Reeve does the carburize. A lot of other people do the carbonize. So two methods to really harden up that lock face and make sure there's no lock stick, and there is absolutely none. From day one, no lock stick whatsoever, not even like a hint, not even a break-in period, just perfect. So, yeah. Now, lockup is, as you would expect from Jesse, rock solid. He spine waxed the shit out of his knives, and they are made to have incredible lockup and really to be used. I mean, that's his intent. So, it just makes it a joy to carry, knowing that it is first and foremost a tool, and then, form follows function, still very attractive, great lines overall, nice contrast. So, anyway, since the scales are hand fit to each knife, that is why I now have two, although I'm probably not going to put the G10 back on. I don't know why you would. I'm a big fan of carbon fiber instead. So, as far as the name, the K-2A has something to do with the Kepler Space Telescope and the way that planets are named. This is version 2, I believe, of the Kepler, something along those lines, and this is A because it's the first blade shape that he's made. He'll do other blade shapes, and he will be doing more of these K-2As. Now, as far as acquiring knives from him, he does something called Sale Sunday. So he, builds knives throughout the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is, and then on Sundays he'll drop, I don't know, maybe 6 to 10 knives or something, maybe less, maybe more. But that's essentially how you can acquire these, is to be monitoring his website, probably doing some mad refreshing on a Sale Sunday, and, look to snag one of these. So, yeah. Now, as far as how I acquired this one, I've been familiar with Jesse's work for a long time. If you look way back in my video list, I did a video on a tetrad or something along those lines. Really impressed with the knife. If you guys listen to my podcast, one of our co-hosts, Richard, is very good friends with Jesse, so he's always talking about his work. So anyways, I've known Jesse for a while. We hung out at Blade Show. I found his table pretty early in the day, right after it opened on at the USN show, and he was doing first come, first serve. So I walked over, just asked him how things are going, picked this one up to try it out at the show, and I was sitting there holding it, flipping it a few times, and I was like, wow, that is really nice. And it wasn't planned, but a couple things. One, I was really impressed. Two, I really like Jesse. I think he's a great guy, and I have the utmost respect for his design philosophy and his execution of builds. So, of course I had to walk away with it, and I'm really happy he let me take it. So I've been enjoying this one. I've been carrying this one. It carries really, really well with that spring clip. Again, not as exciting as a 3D milled clip, but they function better by and large, unless it's a really well done 3D clip. The 3 screw heads here are an ideal traction spot to grab it and take it out of your pocket. And of course, getting your knife out of your pocket is the first step to using it. So, yeah. That's one thing I like about like Spydercos and so forth, is just the 3 screw heads make an excellent traction point to grab it and pull it out. And it does sit about yay high, so, again, it's not meant to be super discreet. It's meant to be an accessible, usable tool. But, yeah. I guess that's about it. I think you guys know how I feel about it at this point. No doubt there will be other people talking about how much they like this knife, and I honestly would not mind picking up a one of these with maybe perhaps a different blade shape, since he will be doing different blade shapes. But it's really nice. I really like it. For the price, it probably kills everything else out there in its price range. Yeah, it's like the best of machining and handmade all in one at this price. So anyways, I will leave it there. I've said enough, and thanks for watching, guys. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up, and I will put all the pertinent links to Jesse and his work, as well as the 2 podcast episodes he did as of late, in the description box below. Thanks for watching. Take care.